judgment it may or may not render. And then after that deliberative session, if necessary, the board will make motions to make decisions with regard to the incident, and then those decisions will be binding, and we will come, and the dog owner, if there is some kind of consequence, will receive this in a letter that we will draft with our attorneys over the next 48 or 72 hours or so, and then put it in the mail. So that's the timeline of this. The board will have the hearing, hear from both sides, hear from any other third parties that want to comment, and then talk amongst themselves, ask any questions, enter the deliberative session, and then render judgment. And then we'll formalize that with the report in the back end. So that's how this is going to go. If anyone, and Dan, you can.
Yep.
Yeah.
So just so everybody's on the same page, as a quasi-judicial board, comes before the select board, and we hear the evidence presented by both sides, and it's what's called de novo. We hear it anew. Nothing that we have received or seen is evidence until it's presented at this hearing. So anyone that wants to speak on any particular topic, what we'll do is have you stand and be recognized and identify yourself, and then you can say whatever you wish. So I would say let's start with the complainant, which would be the parent of the person that was bitten. So that would be, I think, the appropriate way to do it, and you're welcome to show us anything, say anything, tell us in your own words. It doesn't have to be any, this is not legalese or anything like that. It's just tell us your side of the story, and we hear both sides, and then we deliberate and come to a conclusion one way or the other. There may be alternatives to one way or the other. It may be variations, but that's what we'll do. So let's hear from the complainant first.
Can I just stand?
Yeah. If you're comfortable standing, that's fine. If you'd
I'd
rather
rather
sit, just identify yourself, that's fine too. We're easy to get along with, and none of us bite.
I'm Nicole Morse, mother of the daughter, Clara Morse. On July 22nd, we were visiting a friend's house. The dog and the owner were also visiting the same friend's house. My daughter got out of the car to play with my friend's daughter, and the dog had walked up to her, sniffing her. My daughter bent down, reached her hand, pet the dog's head. The dog was fine. We were all standing there in the driveway. Within 10 minutes after Clara had pet her, she lunged at my daughter, grabbing her by her hair and ripping her to the ground, and then was on top of her, viciously attacking her. All of us screamed. The dog owner had a hold of the leash, yanked the leash so hard that she fell backward, and I grabbed my daughter. My friend and I took her in the house, got her a wet cloth, and I took her to the car and rushed her to the ER. She received 8 stitches. She had a scrape on her ankle from the rocks in the driveway when she was dragged to the ground. The hospital informed me she may have to have plastic surgery depending on how it heals and with how her body grows. I was never contacted by the dog owners after this incident regarding any sort of concern or responsibility or anything as to what happened or how Clara was doing. I wasn't informed of any updates on anything with the incident afterwards. And we're just waiting to hear whether or not Clara has to go and have plastic surgery. She's petrified of dogs, including our own pets, not at our house, but at both of her grandparents have dogs. She's afraid to leave the house. She's afraid the dog lives across the street from us, so she's afraid that she goes outside, the dog could get out again and attack her.
How old is she?
She will be 6 on Wednesday.
The dog in question lives
No.
across?
Yes, the
Yes.
dog in question
The dog
lives
in
across the
question
street.
lives across the street from him.
Yes. Yep.
And does the board have any questions from the complainant? My question would be, has there been, you said there was no communication, has there been any effort to take financial responsibility for the injuries and the hospitalization and all of that?
Not at all.
Any other questions?
I'm not quite sure the parameters, so if this is not an appropriate
Yes.
question, let me know, but, in making this complaint, just from your perspective, what do you see as an appropriate remedy or resolution?
I feel that the dog should be euthanized. It's not only a threat to my daughter again, but it could be a threat to the public. Anybody walking down that street for any reason, whether it's a child or an adult, has a chance of being attacked again. The dog's, I mean, from what I know, the dog's done it more than once.
So, so there is a history of the dog
As far as I'm aware, there is.
attacking. Is, this might not be a question for you, is the dog contained inside any kind of a fence or when it's outside, or is it
No.
just on a leash?
Sometimes it's gotten out where it has ran loose, but normally it's supposed to be on a leash. I've seen it on a leash before, but there's no fence.
But it was on a leash, it was actually on a leash during the attack.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want to?
That's it. Thank you.
That's everything that happened in your award. All right, so the dog owner here?
Well, I'm the owner.
Okay.
I licensed her. I was not at the incident. When she says owner, I think she means my daughter's was the one
Person.
with the dog. They called me because I own the dog by law. We also live together and the dog is in our house, so. But I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So my daughter called me after the attack but she was there, so I actually only know from her so I would say she.
So what happened in your own words, just as best you can remember?
Primarily. I mean, basically what Nicole said, everything was fine, and then it wasn't. Clara had pet her, and so did the other child, and there was multiple people there, and she didn't give me any warning signs. I wouldn't say it was vicious, because she didn't bark, she didn't growl, she didn't do any of that. There was a stick involved. The child had reached out and grabbed a stick, and I think that's what she was going for, and she kind of, missed, because Clara and the dog are pretty close in height. But I did pull her off, and I did actually contact, not Nicole, but Emma, who is her son's girlfriend, in regard to Clara's well-being, just to get updates. I didn't want to message Nicole because I knew obviously they're upset. I would be upset too. And I just didn't want to make it worse. So that's why I didn't do that, but I did reach out to Emma. And as far as paying, we have not spoken about any financial things, but I'm more than happy to help.
And you said you were visiting for a couple of hours.
Yeah, we had been there. I was for about 2 hours, and there was
Before the attack?
before it happened. There was a bunch of people, and she did fine. I think it was just a stick. I don't think she meant to hurt Clara.
So there was a lot of people. When you called me, you said that she was calm and.
Yes, no. After the incident, she just labored on the ground. I mean, I yelled at her, obviously, pulled her off, but she just laid there. She didn't seem like she wanted to hurt anybody afterwards. She didn't seem.
In regard to the fence, we rent, so we can't put up a fence. We rent from Shire's house, and we're not allowed to put up anything, nothing. They're very, very strict on.
Yep.
So we can't put up a fence, but we don't.
She's never.
She's never really out. She has gotten out, I think, once this year. She's never gone after anybody. She usually runs to the back field, to the elderly place, but we get her usually pretty quickly. But we always have her on a leash.
She has a lead that's around a tree.
But we
And
never
she's
have her
not out there alone.
ever
There's always
alone.
somebody out there.
We don't just tie her out, ever. We don't even take her to public places without her, we don't take her around other animals. We don't take her usually around high volumes. When we take her to the dog park, it's in the evening when nobody's there. We're very cautious about having her around a lot of people. So just because she does get overstimulated with a lot of people. And she doesn't actually get along with other dogs, so we know that about her. She
And there
doesn't,
wasn't another dog here in this.
Not outside.
there was not another dog outside, so no. No, I believe the dog they had was inside, so that wasn't a factor, but she doesn't like other dogs typically. She was attacked as a puppy, so she doesn't like other animals. But she was attacked. But, yeah, we can't put in a fence, but we are willing to muzzle her, from here on out when she's outside of her.
Willing to do anything.
We do not want to use a muzzle, obviously, but we are willing to muzzle her. And
Any
keep-
prior issues in terms of biting, even if they didn't cause injury?
Not here, but she has bitten before.
People or dogs or both or?
Never bitten a dog. She got bitten by a dog at a year old. She was attacked at Willow Park because other people let their dogs roam. She did bite somebody before, a person, when she was about a year old at Willow Park. She was a puppy still.
Is there anyone else that was present and would like to weigh in on either side? Okay, well, I think we will recess for a few minutes and go in and deliberate over what we've heard.
Excuse me, could I just say
Yes.
something real quick?
Sure.
I'm Clara's grandmother. She spends a lot of time at my house, or did, until this incident happened. She's come over several times, and I have dogs, one which is hers that she's known since she was a baby. And she is petrified to come in my house. And she walks in and she's like, and I have to, Nikki we've tried for the last 10 days, and it's really hard on her. She doesn't understand. These dogs have never done anything to her. And she is petrified. And that's really sad.
Was the injury on the face or?
Yes.
I also have a question.
Yeah.
Dylan, I'm Claire's uncle. Why was the dog not taken by the state for a 10-day quarantine? I've had dogs kill cats before, and they've been taken by the state for a 10-day quarantine until it's figured out what's going to be done with the dog.
I asked if it was supposed to be quarantined. They told me
It
no.
is.
They told me no.
I've had numerous dogs kill cats, and they've taken them until it's figured out. So why isn't a dog attacking a child being taken by the state?
It's not required.
Every dog that I've ever had.
Maybe not now,
What's
but,
happening here? I'm reading the state statute.
Yep.
right.
She's
So
up to
I
date.
just feel that's kind of ridiculous now that, I've gone through it plenty of times before, so if they've changed the law, I think it should be changed.
Unfortunately, we have zero control over that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's not really your house.
And the dog was up to date on its shots.
Yes, all of them.
And
rabies.
licensing?
And she was overdue by like 2 months. Immediately after I talked to the town clerk and she was licensed. She has been licensed every year, but she was due in May and she is licensed, but she has been licensed every year since I've had her, so. And she is licensed now.
I was told she was not up to date on her rabies vaccination. I had to speak with the hospital on whether or not my daughter had to get rabies vaccination.
She is. If you talk with the town clerk, she's not due till 2024, and you can get that from the town clerk. She was up to date. She's not due till next year.
Yes, we did confirm that. I think it was because they didn't know if they were or not at that initial time with the clerk's office.
She is up to date.
But I can confirm that.
Okay.
Okay, I think.
So my name's Robin Champagne. I do animal control for Arlington. So I got a call from the Vermont State Police. It was a Saturday, July 22nd. Later in the day, they told me that they were going to send a trooper out because a little girl just got bit by a dog. I got a hold of the trooper when we talked. He had gotten statements from everyone about what happened. So we were told originally that the dog was overdue for its rabies shot, but it looks like that's been figured out.
I thought she was a month overdue, but when I confirmed with the vet, it was a weekend. I confirmed, and then I talked to the clerk. She was not. She actually, it was a year.
And
out.
you got her the dog was licensed last year,
Yes.
and the dog had to be licensed because she had gotten loose and was running around town. I had gotten a phone call report. No one officially did like a formal complaint, but that an elderly woman's small breed dog, it was a black dog, that their dog had attacked it, not viciously to the point where it needed vet care, but enough to where it was very frightening for the elderly woman who owned the dog. And I've had multiple other people in that center, I think the Shire's
She
housing.
runs out towards Center Lane.
Yeah, the Center Lane area. I've had multiple people in the past year call me about that. So that's kind of when we enforced the dog licensing, went over the leash laws, all that, the town did. And I haven't had any issues. I haven't had
I think
any.
she's only gotten out one time in the last year.
I haven't gotten any calls as far as that goes of the dog running loose until this last incident. But I do believe that dog has acted viciously towards smaller dogs in the past.
As I understand it, the dog licensing requires rabies vaccine.
Yeah, it's a state law that every
So it's
dog
part
has
of
to
the-
be
part
up
of
to
the-
date.
Part of the deal.
Yeah.
She has she has that, but she has about 100 other vaccines too that aren't required. But she has like 10 other vaccines. So
What is the breed of the animal?
she's part German Shepherd and part Pit Bull.
Okay.
Pit Bull Terrier.
Yep.
And half German.
She was at her. I didn't know about
Her dad is-
the animal.
Yeah, I never heard the animal. They were just complaining because she was running in the yard.
Yeah, I would have to I mean, I don't remember the names off the top of my head. I didn't write them down. It was a year ago.
Yeah.
I could definitely find it if you're interested.
We've been
but
really good about not letting
it
her
was
get
a
out.
younger woman who had called in regards for the elderly woman, expressing concern and
Okay.
things like that. And I believe I also reached out to Shire's Housing as well to let them know that the dog was getting loose quite often. It was happening quite often. I think maybe because the door got opened by maybe a child or something and the dog ran by. I don't think they were intentionally just letting the
Yeah.
dog,
I have
out
two
to go to the
young boys.
bathroom and knock them back. But I do understand why the parents of this girl are worried about this dog. I would be worried about the dog with children in the house that are like under the age of 10, I would say. If any new children come into the home, I would be worried because, like they said, the dog didn't bark or growl. Dogs can get very quiet before they bite like that. It could just be a chemical thing with this dog in her brain where she kind of just has little moments where the anxiety gets the best of her and she acts out aggressively. I did see pictures of the bite and it didn't look like a little nip. It seemed intentional. I mean, I've been bitten by a pit bull before, a nip, and I didn't have to get stitches. So it was a pretty bad bite in my opinion.
She's very, very good dog with us. She'd take a bullet for us. She's super protective of us. She will not let anyone near us because she's very protective. She protects her family. My boys can lay on her. My boys can jump on her. My boys can smack her, take her, bite her tail. My boys can do anything to her. She will not bite my children. So she's very, very good with the boys. My boys are 9 and 12, and they can do anything to her. So as far as that goes with the children in the house, I feel like she's not a threat to my children at all. They grew up with her since she was 6 weeks old. They have never been, they can literally, do anything to her. You know what I mean? So I don't know that she's a threat to my children. I think that if she can, I don't think she should be around children under the age of 18 that are not living with her, obviously. Like anyone. I agree that she should not be around children. I think it's too much anxiety for her, and kids move fast. And I know the incident, I wasn't there for the incident, but with the stick and the movement, whether she went after the stick, went after the Clara on purpose, I don't know, I wasn't there, but she should not be around children at all, only her own children. I mean, that's, obviously she's lived with her boys since she was babies, but I do agree that no, she should not be around children under the age of 18 at all. like ever. Like
Yeah.
she, I do want to state that. I would never bring her around children other than the 2 boys that she lives with, obviously. They're 12 and 9, almost 10, so she said under 10, he's almost 10, so.
As I understand, there was a trooper that did an investigation. Is he here?
No, we have the written up
We have a
report
written
in
report
the,
of that, and it's in the,
all that's in the investigation, in the appendix, all public record. I have paper copies here.
I just
if
want to
anyone's
make sure that that
looking at those.
report is part of this.
That report is formally part of the investigation as part of this, and much of the investigation does lean on that in lieu of us re-interviewing many of the people who were involved. So, yeah, that's all public record, all available as part of the summary.
All right, anyone else on either side want to weigh in on?
I'm just a little concerned if she had this dog on a leash. I was not there, but she didn't have control of this dog. Do you know what I mean? If she's walking this dog and on a leash, and the dog on the leash attacked someone, she has no control. This dog, you know, I'm concerned that if she's out walking this dog, there's no control. You know, she could do anything to anybody, whether it's a dog, another person, because they don't have control over her on a leash because she's that strong or whatever the case may be. That concerns me.
You need to have control over a dog that size.
Yeah,
You need to have control over a dog that size. I have plenty of big dogs.
yeah.
I have pit bulls. They bit me all the time. I don't have a scratch on my skin. That dog intentionally.
Dude, it is partially my fault.
Okay.
I
She
allowed
feels
her to
horrible.
be around children and other people knowing that she can get anxious. So, I mean, like I had her on the leash, but I didn't have her right next to me at that moment. So, it's really my fault, I feel like, but
Okay, I think
Believe me,
we-
she feels
I
horrible.
think we've heard enough from both. I think we should recess into a deliberation and come out with a decision, and whatever the decision is, it will be in writing to both parties. So, is it similar to executive session where
It's
we have
just
to go
simply,
into
yeah,
that?
I make a motion to enter into deliberative session,
Okay.
and that's it, there's one motion.
It's not two, like.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and
Like a jury?
Yeah.
it's kind of like that.
It's very similar to that. It's like jury deliberation more than executive session where you have to state the purpose of the, everybody knows what the purpose is,
Yeah.
so it's pretty obvious.
So
Someone make a
I make a
to-
motion that the dog hearing should enter into deliberative session
And just invite myself to remain in the room.
and allow Mr. Zayas, town administrator, to remain with the board.
Is there a second? Second. Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Glenn to enter into deliberative session and allow Mr. Zayas, town administrator, to join us. And we will adjourn into that room so you guys can stay put right here. And we'll be back, it won't take very long, I don't think. We'll be back shortly.
After considerable discussion of this very difficult case, I make a motion to order that this dog be disposed of in a humane way in order to protect other community members.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's made by Cynthia and seconded by Todd. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. You'll be given a letter stating the decision and what actions have to be taken so that you can follow through with that. That'll come from Nick, and that'll be post haste within the next few days.
I'll be consulting with our attorney tomorrow on the letter, and it will go in the mail this week, so. we'll get
What's
a
my
cer-
timeline?
You'll get a certified letter within about a week, depending on how fast the mail moves, hopefully sooner. And
I get to choose the vet?
you'll be able to choose those details. It'll be just a general get to an outcome. It's my understanding of the sense of the board. So.
I do have a daughter that's already have a baby in the next, any day, so just.
So yeah, we'll give you the maximum amount of time allowed by law to.
And I wanna put her down with my bad choice.
Correct.
And be there.
That's
fine.
That's fine.
And I'm just letting you
Yeah,
know.
and I can express for the board that this is something that you'll have autonomy to do, and at the end of this, our documentation is just the, paperwork from the vet saying this has been completed or that you've sent us, so. But that'll all be in the letter, of what we'll need, what you can do, and that's it.
Yeah, and then I'm
Thank you.
gonna kill myself, 'cause
So, Nick, do we have to adjourn the hearing?
No, I guess we can, I don't think.
Convene the meeting, or we're good?
We're good to move forward. This is just a hearing as part of our regular meeting. It's not warned separately.
Okay.
So,
Do you want to move the executive
like,
session?
move to the executive
end?
session, personnel
move that?
matter.
Okay. If somebody wants to establish the reason for an executive session as a personnel matter.
We're gonna do that now instead of doing the rest of the meeting?
What's next on it?
That's- yeah,
That's-
so
That's
our-
on the agenda.
It's, and also we don't
I
want
know
to keep,
someone-
we don't want to keep the individual waiting for that portion of the meeting sitting for the
It
rest.
won't be a long.
Yeah, we don't,
I make a motion that premature discussion of a personnel issue would cause a municipality to suffer substantial disadvantage.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Todd to establish the reason for the executive session as a personnel issue. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I make a motion to enter into executive session for discussion of the personnel issue and to allow Town Administrator Nick Zias, anybody else?
and that.
Pat Pickering.
Pat
Who?
Pickering.
Pat Pickering.
Pat Pickering to remain in the room.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Jamie to enter into executive session for personnel matter and allow Nick Zias, Town Administrator, and Pat Pickering to enter the room. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 So,
Recording
bear with us, folks, we'll be back in a few minutes. One is the line striping contract.
Just the one bidder this year, because Fresh Coat didn't get back to us. Not that their bids are particularly competitive. Typically, I call the bidder as he's done it in the past. And his number is pretty much in line, maybe actually a little bit less than last year because
So
the material prices came
One
down.
and only bid is for top coat applicators at $5,489. And Mike Hall is the owner, and he's done a pretty good job for us over the years. I see no reason not to award it. If someone wants.
I'll make a motion to approve the line striping proposal from Top Coat Applicators in the amount of $5,489. A second.
Motion made by Todd and then seconded by Glenn to approve the awarding of the striping contract with Top Coat Applicators, total amount of $5,489. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right.
One quick question, is there a timeline on that?
He didn't have one for me. The weather's been so wonky this year. I know that he makes it a priority. He's taken on a lot less clients now as he winds down his business. So he made sure that he reserved a slot for us to make.
Right.
And on this,
See it done before school starts.
yeah, I know the board had previously, our board members had previously asked me to plant a bug in his ear if, when he does retire, we certainly would be game to be, or the select board has previously expressed that they might be interested in purchasing some of his equipment when he does go to retire. So I did plant that bug in his ear this year. At which point, we're gonna be looking for someone to replace him at some point soon.
And I think he wants to try to retire away from it anyway, but as long as he's willing to do it, I see no reason not to. The next item on the agenda is the fuel oil award. And there's, as I understand, there's two.
Yeah, two numbers. One is from Miles Fuels locally, and one is the Morabito state contract rate. The variable rates are very competitive, and I did do the research on oil futures. I do think in oil that the variable rates are where we want to be this year, rather than paying the lock-in, effectively buying price insurance from Miles Fuels or prepaying. We
Yeah, I don't see the miles on here.
it was okay. That's why it's. I didn't see in that one. That's that's. So it's just the first top of that. So they include the amounts of oil that we burn on pages 2 and 3. That gives you the general amount that gallonage. So my proposal is to, because the rates are variable, award based on gallonage. Yeah.
Note that the Morabito quote is the state bid.
State contract rate
55 cents.
over variable rate.
So miles is actually cheaper than the state variable.
They're approximately the same.
They're very close, but it's a little bit less.
And Dan, you have the.
This is Morabito's here.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to look at that.
Yeah, that was in the packet. And Dan has the format for the motion when we're over.
It's actually.
Oh, yeah, it's on the miles thing, sticky note. I'll note that the total gallonage should come in lower than this because of the new heat pumps at East Arlington Fire Station, which I don't want to hazard a guess at how much they will be able to transition oil cost into electricity cost, but it could pull like 500 gallons out of our total oil burn from the fire component, but I don't want to set a number lower than the total max just in case those heat pumps don't do a lot or they use them wrong or whatever. But yeah, I do want to flag that some of that cost is good, like the total gallonage should drop from the gallonage reflected there.
You can make a motion according to that.
I'm trying to read these right.
Yeah.
I'll give it up.
Sorry. Motion to award the town heating oil contract to blank at a cost at a cost described in the quote for an amount not to exceed 6,000 gallons per year.
A motion to award the town heating oil contract to Miles Fuels at a cost
Depicted in the
described
quote.
in the quote for the amount not to exceed 6,000 gallons.
Is there a second? Motion is made by Tom, seconded by Glenn to approve Miles for the motion as stated. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 6.3 is the tax rate. We've already agreed that there was.
So let's just make a motion to table that to a special meeting that will be set for 7 p.m. on Thursday of this week, which is 8/10. So a motion to table that until 8.
I'll make a motion to table the tax rate discussion until 8:10.
Second.
Motion made by Todd and seconded by Cynthia to postpone the discussion on the setting the tax rate to 7 p.m. Thursday on the 10th of August. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, I have some items from Mark under all other business. Just grab my notes.
All other business. Next item.
So, all of the business, I'm going to be talking to, I know our attorney's been a bit behind on some some other work for us, so I've been reticent to open up this can of worms. But I am gonna contact the attorney about the easements for Steve Soliski's water line. I've not, but any discussion of that that's just an FYI from Mark, that, just reminding us of that. And then he wanted to let you guys know that he talked to Blake Pike about trialing a method that Blake works with the town of Shasbury on, where he is hired for a full day of work at a flat rate. And I don't want to give numbers at this point because it's not an appropriate thing to do. But he does the aerial work with his bucket truck, and then the town highway crew does the chipping and follows the truck, cleaning it up. And he does that at a flat rate per day, and he's under a contract that he comes about 1 day per month that they work with him. And
This is trimming trees?
Yeah, this is trimming trees, doing aerial work over the roads on the vegetation.
Okay.
So Mark wanted, and the numbers are under bid threshold, so I'm intending to approve it unless the board says otherwise. A 1 day trial of this at a set rate under our bid threshold, and we have plenty of tree budget left in the year to work on that. We had a great experience with him on the tree at the base of Sandgate Road recently, and Mark is looking at some opportunities that don't consume our entire crew and can probably get some of this done more efficiently than renting a man lift. So that's that. We're in the process of getting prices for the tool room, the little conversion of Eve's space, town garage. If we should have money to do that in our current budget. If not, we can use ARPA dollars if we bid it correctly. But we did get our first couple of bids in on that proposal, and then Randy Novotny is working on getting us some numbers on the electrical work for that space. So we're going to call that the tool room project from here on out.
Yep. Makes sense.
And
When are you hoping to get that?
I have.
Next meeting?
If we can get a second bid that we feel like is like for like, I am not 100% confident that the second bid that we have in is close enough to apples to apples. So that's that. But my goal is that because this was not necessarily budgeted this year, and we still have, ideally we'll be awarding the Black Hole Hollow work next meeting as well. There's a bunch of competing kind of large block priorities in that department that are going to run into budget constraints sooner rather than later. So
Do we have any sinking funds for buildings?
we have sinking fund. We do not have sinking funds for town garage buildings. That is one strangely absent sinking fund. It sounds like we've done garage maintenance out of operating forever. I am not particularly happy with that. I think that's something that the board should consider warning for town meeting next year, to at least have the option for saving for specifically town garage projects. Admittedly, some town garage, I will put the caveat on here, some town garage projects are expected to be done next budget year as part of the Municipal Energy Resilience Program. That will include windows and doors, garage doors, insulation, and some other stuff. We will have a consultant out to do a free review of the property, and some of the work that we already want to do at that building that would be sinking fund style material will be covered by that NERP program. So I'm just going to flag that for the public now. But yeah, I think we should definitely create a sinking fund for the town garage in the future.
I would like to see us move this project forward, and if we can have the bids by the next meeting so that we can get on somebody's schedule.
I'm happy to do what we can to get those bids, and if we advance it without, with even as close to an apples to apples as we can, and we're not particularly happy with the details, that's fine. But yeah, I want to give it another 2 weeks to at least, he's had a third person in to look at it. I want to give them an opportunity to potentially get in and get us a price.
Well, let's make sure it's going to fit within the budget too.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we know.
So I would, conservatively as a board, I would say that we should be envisioning this as a not to exceed $15,000 project. And I'm happy to share the current highway budget. There's just enough budget to fit this and the likely number for Black Hole Hollow at that meeting. It's going to be tight, but it certainly is something where we have two priorities in this space, and we already have a bunch of money we're moving around between that and the park and things like that. So our budget's already kind of thrown out of whack in a number of ways, but ultimately finding $20,000 or almost $30,000 in an operating budget is about the limits of what I can viably pull off as of shifting money around and delaying things and things like that.
I think that's one of my concerns is we've taken the $30,000 approximately. I want to make sure that we know exactly where this money is coming from.
Yeah.
I mean,
We didn't have this
I
project
would love to.
on the plan. This
Right.
I would
project
love
is
to
not
bid
in the
this
budget.
in our because like all we need is two bids that I can tell the federal government are like for like, and right now I don't think the second bid that we have in is good enough for like. But if we do that, this is a small enough project that it's not going to put a major dent in our $600 total $1,000 in ARPA dollars.
Yep.
And so, like, I am absolutely this is one of the handful of small projects that we can do for highway, and
And it fits in
Frank,
ARPA.
it fits in ARPA because everything fits in ARPA. We have no. It's important that you all know there are. I don't want to say there are no rules on ARPA. We have to bid them all legally. But ultimately, because we took this in lieu of taxes that we did not receive during COVID, just like Bennington could pour $1 million into Willow Park, we have extreme flexibility with the ARPA funds that we're not going to pour into the water department. And we're going to have a lot more clarity once I finish bidding the water line work over the winter. But ultimately, this is a project where if we don't do it this right now, we can be planning to and making a credible pledge to be making awards in the spring to be building early in the season into the new year if we don't go ARPA. Like they're blocks that are small enough that we can you have options, and know that pile of money that even if we set aside as much as you feel is appropriate for buffer for what ifs in the water department, there's still the board deciding on the allocation of something like $300,000 next year. And we should at least be planning on doing something with that money
Yes.
in every one of the departments. If we can do one thing with this money in highway, I think this is probably the choice project. There may well be some other stuff that are choice things.
I'm in favor of that. The only thing I want to make sure that we're crossing our T's and dotting our I's, because when we're using those federal dollars, we may have to put it out as a federal bid and pay federal wages.
Yeah,
Because
these
we're
people.
dealing with that right now.
Yeah, these people will all have to be bidding it as though it is a federal project. They'll have to know
Correct.
that. They're going to have to adjust that. I certainly don't think any of our low bids right now are in anticipation of paying Davis-Bacon wages and doing all the paperwork associated with that. So yeah, some of these people are experienced in that. Some of these, and this may not be that project, but ultimately we know that we're going to have some flexibility on this. But if you decide that it is a priority, I'm certainly gonna try and light a fire under the bidders to do this under our rules. But ultimately, this is the project that's going to be over the minor award threshold, over that $10,000 line, likely. And if it is, and we should be treating it as if it is, if it is not. And that will just cover ourselves for the inevitable audit next year.
Okay, so I'm really confused, because I thought you were trying to find money in the budget for this project, and now you're saying you're gonna do
No.
ARPA and pay the Davis-Bacon wages.
No, I think we're gonna have an opportunity to talk about it next meeting if we can. If I have a second bid to do it out of operating, and the board will be able to make that decision informed by the current budget status and things like that. That I will get us numbers together of we're overdue for a 80 or like 60% through the year check-in. This is about when I like to start doing the all board budget check-in meeting in August. So we're due for that. I think that's something that will circulate going into next meeting, so everyone knows where we're at. Everyone knows the cost of these projects, and we'll be able to weigh them, and if we want to pick one or the other for this year, maybe pick one to next year, or make a credible pledge to use ARPA for something or whatever. We have options, and I'm going to prepare to give you guys the options to be spending a meeting next meeting where we actually get to
Decide
spend,
which way
we think about the budget in a holistic way. And certainly if there's any truth to the tax rate here, and this is not, and if there is anything wonky about that, and or non-tax revenues have blown up or something like that, I am reasonably, but we're staring at an era of generally high tax rates in Arlington. We need to be judicious about our large projects and the perception of what we're doing as well. And it's very clear, we've set record budgets for 3 years running, and that's inflation, that's changes in government, but ultimately, we do need to be thinking about holistically about these projects. And that'll be our opportunity to really take a step back after a summer of other things to really get back to one of our core competencies and thinking about it and planning for what we're doing.
I have a quick question. If we do go to Bacon Davis route, do the contractors have to go through the SAM system? Is it a very complicated system?
I honestly don't know a whole lot. I know
You
I would
go
need
through
I would need to.
Because we're awarding it.
Yeah.
We're the ones that have to do the paperwork.
Yeah, I would need.
Not that.
Well, I
But
would
they
need.
have to abide by certain.
BB Bullock
rules
has
or-
just gone through a bunch of this stuff with the Commons, and she's actually talked with a lot of our local contractors about making sure that they are eligible for federal projects, because
Right.
we have we have potentially $1.5 million worth of money that's tied up with federal money sitting at that site that that many of these local contractors want to bid on. So they have every incentive to get legal for those big
Right.
projects down the street, and hey, they're also eligible for our ARPA stuff as well. There's a lot
I
of.
did it for the Alliance. I was in the SAM system for the Alliance. It's not that hard.
It's
It's-
not that difficult.
I manage our SAM registration, and I'm happy to advise anyone on that as relevant. I get a lot of
They
emails
actually
about
have
this.
federal people that actually walk people through that
It's
process.
your grant manager that's responsible for that, not the contractors.
Yeah.
The contractors are just required to pay.
Yeah, they need to fill out Davis-Bacon timesheets, and be actually compliant with Davis-Bacon.
Yep.
But ultimately, yeah, there's some
But they
payroll
need to know
training.
what the
And
ground
they
rules
need to bid accordingly, because
Of
their
course.
employees may be paid more than what they're
normal
normally
rate
paid.
is.
Yeah, yeah, they're likely going to have to pay them a higher special rate for this project.
Yeah.
So, that's that. I don't have anything else. And those were all just things from our.
Cynthia, go ahead.
So are we almost at warrants and orders? We're almost-
Yeah, I have nothing else if,
Okay,
if
'cause I didn't
you
know
want to
that.
go to
Okay,
warrants.
I just have two things. One is, the Yellow Barn Farm field needs to be mowed, not the buffer zone next to the river.
Yeah, the backfield.
Around the trees and the center part of the field needs to be mowed once a year to keep it open. So I think you need somebody with a more powerful mower than what we have, because it's really brushy.
So I'm happy, if it's a sense of the board, I'm happy to go in and seek a independent contractor to do that mowing. Is that a sense of the board? Yes? Good.
Yeah.
Just make sure, I'll try to go in and put in some tags, make sure that they have to mow up the
I'm
tree.
happy to personally stand there and watch this guy mow it if that'll
You
give
know what I mean,
let you
right?
sleep at night.
You know
Yeah,
what
I know exactly what you're talking about.
All right, that's good.
The Gardens at Yellow Barn Farm Group has done a lot of
Oh, it's
work around their
beautiful,
areas,
beautiful.
so
Yeah.
it's pretty clear what needs to be mowed and what doesn't need to be mowed.
I hope so. The other thing is, we do wanna do some more work on the barn at some point. You had some roof repairs done, correct?
Yes, the roof
And
repairs
so
are done, it is compliant with the
the-
insurance rules.
The carpentry and the painting can zoom into next year at this point. I don't think there's any point in doing that. But let's try to remember that for next year from the Yellow Barn
Yeah.
Fund, so.
I think that would be good. I think we also, I'll flag on the board's kind of to-do list is I do look forward to bidding some painting on the covered bridge in the next year, over the winter for that. The ends should have been done 2 or 3 years ago. The bridge as a whole is getting close to the point where it wholly needs to be repainted. So we're gonna have some conversations about that. Mark got me thinking about that, and flagged that for me the other day. There is some deterioration on the bridge itself. I'm gonna look at that more closely to make sure it's not anything more systematic. But
This is the covered bridge?
on the covered bridge, I'm gonna go and watch that. There's a little bit of some. If you're curious about the details of this, I will bring you up there and show you. It's a lot easier than describing.
Maybe
it.
it's something that.
It's only visible from underneath.
Okay.
So that's that.
All right, I'm going tubing. So the other thing is, I did get a complaint from someone who uses the golf course, and they felt that the greens were not in good condition and some of the fairways. I have no way of judging this. This person did say we've had a lot of rain, which probably makes it hard to mow properly, and it makes the grass crazy.
Flooded underwater.
And it's,
Yeah, it was
you
underwater.
know,
Three of the
so
holes were underwater, too,
I
like a
have
pocket.
I have no basis for saying anything about the condition and whether this complaint is justified, but I feel that I have to pass it along, because this is someone that's been playing golf at that course for years, and they hadn't been there for a while, and they came back and they said, this is not.
I really appreciate you flagging that.
Just, but again, I understand if standards cannot be maintained under the conditions that we face, but I just had to pass
It's
it along.
a few weeks ago now, but it still takes a minute to get those greens.
But you can't mow, you can't even mow it
Exactly.
properly.
Yeah,
Right.
there was also
Yeah.
a portion of the golf course that couldn't be mowed because it was so wet that the lawn.
That was what I,
Some
oh,
kind of
would sink in,
damage, yeah.
okay. I think that may
Somebody
very
damaged
well
it.
have been
So
what
he
was
had to
going on.
leave certain
Yeah.
areas like
Okay,
literally
that
unmowed.
could, I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Because
I'm pretty
his
sure.
lawnmower was something.
I'll get back to this person and let them know that, because they wouldn't necessarily realize that just.
And the
you know,
greens, I mean, we know that, like, the greens last year were an issue, that's why we were looking at irrigation, but
Didn't need irrigation.
Overcorrection,
We got the irrigation.
overcorrection.
so it's a kind of like for him, it's a constant work in progress on that.
Oh, yeah.
He's
Yeah.
actually brought in, which is on my list, he's brought in literally some experts in this field, to give him advice on how to bring those things back.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
That's fine.
we're actually
That's
very
fine.
pleased with how the greens have been maintained for what they
Under
are.
the circumstances.
And yeah, let's see, I did walk the course recently. It does look okay. We are gonna think about mulch on the trail as when we're on this park maintenance kind of topic. We're gonna need to start thinking about that in future budgets. It's not a whole lot of mulch, but spreading it's a lot. And
We just did that, we just did mulch.
no, we did mulch for the playground. That's a different type of mulch.
Also remember it was underwater.
Oh, we took the mulch away? Yeah, okay,
A lot of it
alright.
floated
Yeah,
down.
flood,
Yeah. That
Yeah,
could be
he-
at your house, but
there,
Oh,
he
I did
did,
mulch.
he did patch a bit of it where a culvert was exposed with some of the playground mulch. It's holding perfectly fine. I think it's probably something that the mulch will be replaced with. It will be something a little bit more aesthetic, but also it's gonna be pretty much the same, just cheaper. So,
After that was underwater, he worked his tail off so well to get that thing cleared up, and kudos to him, because he spent a lot of time
yeah.
on top of his mowing to get
Yeah.
the flood damage.
Understood.
And it's praiseworthy that he did 95% of it solo, that he didn't call in meaningful support from the rest of the government, despite him having the only meaningful area of town that had damage that was not greater
Flooding,
damage.
yeah.
So I'm
Lucky
certain.
it wasn't great.
And when I think about it, the person who called me may not even know that the golf course was underwater, so.
And important, like I literally walked this on Thursday, with some members of the energy committee. They're gonna advise us on, I know Willie had come to us with some ask for some advice on plantings to make the course, I don't know, less wide open, more interesting, replace some of the trees that are dying in there. We are getting some advice from a person who really knows what they're talking about what we can put in there that's going to both make it an interesting, valuable course.
Native, not
Importantly,
invasive.
Native, non-invasive. They heard all about all the invasives in the park, but they're researching native sage grasses and tall bushes and things like that, as well as trees that will be good additions to the course. I think they want to plant more sycamores in
They could
the
also
area.
be in touch with Bennington Conservation District, and the Alliance is still planting trees. They will have sycamores. They have lists of what you should plant along the streamline.
Yeah, definitely. We wanted to keep an eye on that because we know the ash die-off is going to be extreme in the park along the trail. So
Dead trees are good habitat.
dead trees are great
They fall in
habitat.
the river and the trout will.
It's going to be a very wide open sunny trail for a couple of years if we don't get some replacement trees planted fairly soon. So that's that. It's 9 o'clock. I don't have anything else.
Okay.
Did he bring up about the new baseball dugouts?
I don't think this has come up in a meeting at this point. So I know he had talked to me about the painting on the dugouts and
Right.
all the hard work that everyone put in to build them.
They just need to be finished.
And
Reg is doing
Is it done?
it.
I mean, a lot of this stuff was out just laying on the lawn and
Yeah,
stuff.
it may be, because I talked to him
Just the whole
probably,
area.
I talked to him 2 weeks about it, and 2 weeks ago, he was gonna go down himself and finish the painting.
yeah.
Okay.
It was supposed to be done by kids volunteering their time, but there was only a couple of us that volunteered our time, so. Reg was gonna go down and finish it, and he was going to be putting different fencing on the front of it, as opposed to the chain link. So I had that conversation with him,
Okay.
because I told him
But I
I
know
was
Willie
down in
was
town.
concerned mowing because there was all kinds of stuff laying on the grass.
So I do know he went down and
everything
cleaned a bunch of things up the other day, and he was
Okay.
gonna finish the stain.
Just one of the things that he was talking to me about.
I just had a couple of real quick things, just to
Yeah.
go look. Did we ever get a thank you letter to Mr. Maddox for his,
I will have one for you guys to sign on Wednesday.
thank you, because he came
Thursday,
in,
yeah.
he came in,
Thursday,
he came in
yeah.
April, and we wanna make sure we thank,
Yeah.
that was a lot of
Got a lot of
expertise, knowledge, and free stuff.
Free advice.
Yeah, there was more than just advice.
Labor.
Yeah, labor, stuff like that. And I know Willie's going on vacation, we have a plan to cover for him, I assume.
Yes, JJ's gonna do some mowing. He's gonna earn a couple of days comp time because he's been out sick a bit for this summer.
Perfect.
So yeah,
As long as we got a plan.
that's the plan. If JJ for whatever reason can't do it, I will go and sit on the lawnmower and do it myself. It's
But
not.
don't you mess up those
Oh,
stripes,
oh,
Nick.
oh.
I will
Don't you
not
mess
mess
up
up
those stripes.
I've been talking to my teacher and he's telling me lots of advice. But
And our fence posts on Carmine Circle, did we get?
Springfield Fence got an email from me today with the pictures they're gonna fit us in the next month or so, if all goes well. But yeah, I just talked to them on Friday confirming that they're coming. So yeah, that email went over to them this morning, and I'm expecting to hear from them about, like, whenever they're in the area. So that's that.
That's good, thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Anything else anyone has? All right, we're ready for warrants and orders.
Just two.
Okay, I make a motion to approve check warrant report number WD 15, the invoices for the water department dated 8/3/23. The only items are Comcast Miles Lumber, the total is $100.99.
Second.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Jamie to approve check warrant report WD 15, total amount of $100.99. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, I make a motion to approve check warrant report number 15 dated 8/3/23. This is the general fund expenses for the town of Arlington. Major components are $1,383 for truck maintenance, $2,490 for diesel, miles, fuels, $2,285 for Sycamore landscaping, cemetery maintenance. The total for the warrant is $10,286.09. Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Jamie to approve check warrant report number 15. Total amount of $10,286.09. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there anything else to be brought before the board?
I'm just gonna flag one thing, that we did get our letter back from the state on compliance with water. Anyone who wants to see that, come talk to me after the meeting. We may wanna, after we get some feedback from our engineer, I may be calling a special water to discuss that, but if anyone is particularly interested in what's in that letter, come to me after the meeting. That's it.
That was on water?
Water, that's the general, the kind of big looming compliance
Yeah.
action.
The water department.
Water
not the
department.
wastewater.
Not wastewater, water, the letter that they sent us 2 years ago. So motion to adjourn is what we need, yeah.
So moved. Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made by Jamie and seconded by Todd to adjourn. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Recording stopped.
See you.